So while I was a paid intern for ACCTV, I got a lot of hands-on experience that I needed with different cameras that I'm going to be using in the field, as well as editing with Premiere Pro. I took an editing class, but having like the real-world experience and not just sitting in a classroom and editing, it's just been very helpful, and it's become second nature to me now.
It's kind of scary thinking like going from just film school to working in the film industry, because there's a lot of like stuff that I still don't know about. But I think this is a really good way to kind of bridge that gap. You can, work in a professional way with like a little bit more leeway than you would have on a professional set. Like, I know I've made a bunch of mistakes, but it wasn't a big deal, and I was able to like learn from them.
CinemaWorks Late Night is a show with half-hour episodes, and we spend time kind of having them share, the guests share their story, and we have them kind of share advice at the end, and any crazy stories they might have had. So interviewing people was definitely something that I hadn't had a lot of experience in. I always felt like, oh, you're just asking people questions. Like, I do that all the time. And when I started, I was so like excited about the skits that when I got to the interviewing part, I realized that this was something that I had to spend a lot more time preparing for, memorizing the questions, and so that the conversation flowed well.
So I was the host of ACC Student Beats. I got to do that like every month, passing out information to students of ACC. It was fun. I'm a frequent at the Northridge Learning Lab, so like the staff there, they're like, I saw you on the monitor. I had my professor one time in class be like, this is our TV star, and everyone was like, wait, dude, you on TV? And I was like, yeah.
I was a host for the ACC About Town, and I got the opportunity to interview people at the Dia de los Muertos event at the Mexican Cultural Center. I like the fact that they made me feel really comfortable, because it was my first or second time that I was like in front of a camera with a microphone. And I was like, what do I do? It was like kind of scary, but they made everything so simple and like where I was like really comfortable.
It feels really good, really, because it just gives me this idea that really like whatever you're doing, like whatever you think you want to do is possible, and just pursue your dreams, really.
I was a host of a segment that developed into ACC About Town. It was super involved. As an actor, sometimes it can feel like you're plucked in at the last minute and then handed a packet full of things, and then you kind of have to figure out what's going on. And I was involved in this segment for like a month or 2 months beforehand. And so we got to start compiling lists. I had input of where I was going to end up going. That was something I wasn't particularly used to. And so, especially with a couple of those locations on that list, I was able to be super passionate, because like I'm familiar with those places, and it made the job so much easier.
This is an opportunity to work with people who are more experienced, have been in this field for a while, and so they're constantly sharing advice, and you just got to be a sponge and soak it in.
If I was to be thrown an opportunity, or if I, was to apply for any kind of position outside of ACCTV, I'm 100% confident, especially after working for ACCTV.
Again, it's like the best stepping stone you could get out of college, and it's just a really great opportunity all around.